Welcome everyone. Today I want to cover a few things continuing on the topics we had in the last video, like Silicon Valley Bank crisis and how that might play into like the overall economy. So if you see, the Silicon Valley Bank crisis was an asset liability mismatch when the 10-year bond fell in value. That created a little bit of hole on their asset liability match side, which forced Silicon Valley Bank to raise equity or somehow make up for the money uh, they were not actually having on their books to match with whatever loans they were having. If you think about it, let's say that phenomena happens across the board on some of the other smaller banks too. I was seeing some article on Twitter. Somebody was saying uh, most of the small regional banks are the ones which carry bulk of the commercial real estate loans, and it seems their portfolios are made up of 50 to 70% like commercial real estate loans. With the deal with the commercial real estate loans are their floating rate loans, and when they are actually up for uh, refinancing at their 5-year term, there'll be a rude awakening or a shock where they might have to look at like interest rates two times what they are used to seeing, which is going to affect their cost structure and ultimately their asset values. Okay, but leaving the effect on the commercial folks aside, with whatever happened to Silicon Valley Bank, same thing is happening across many other regional banks and other financial organizations, which puts a cap on the amount of money they are willing to lend out or loan or make new loans. So essentially, if some of these commercial loans come are due for refinancing, there might be no financial organization which is interested to provide a loan to them, which is going to be a very scary situation. Either they're forced to liquidate or bring in equity, however other means they can do. And that's on the commercial loans. But if you take the other part, is the financial organizations will also stop lending to auto loans or credit cards, any kind of loans, because they want to preserve cash on their balance sheet so they don't hit like a air pocket like Silicon Valley Bank, which means there's going to be a squeeze on the uh, economy because the lending will come to a grinding halt. So essentially, we're going to see a significant slowdown coming up in the next few months. That's something I'm observing. As your The other parallels I'm trying to connect back to is, how is this upcoming economic slowdown going to look like? Is it going to look like 2008, 2001? And based on whatever I read, like Ben Miller is CEO of Fundrise. Back in October, he was talking about the situation being completely different, and it might resemble what happened in the 80s to the SNL crisis, in the sense that this will be more of a liquidity issue as interest rates are going up after like 10, 12 years of zero interest rates, than like an asset quality issue. I partially agree with him. So the asset quality thing might show up in the office buildings, but everywhere else, maybe it's a liquidity issue. But going back to what he's saying is, once this whole deleveraging exercise is kicked off, we'll be in this mode for like some time for the whole thing to actually clean up and shake out. And there'll be a lot of turmoil while this happens. People who overextended, taking too much leverage, don't have enough equity, or don't have enough, I would say, uh, income coming out of their assets to pay the loans, they'll be in deep trouble. The other piece Ben Miller is talking about is potentially a huge squeeze on the overall financial system, which will look similar to the SNL crisis. So connecting that to a couple of things I was seeing on Twitter, there is a guy called Rick Palacios. He's part of John Burns Real Estate Investing. He showed a couple of slides from SNL book. I think he's reading one of the SNL crisis books. In that, so in late, just to provide some context, late 70s, interest rates were like 7-8%, and they doubled to 18% in 81, 82 when Walker increased the rates. at that time. And then we had 82, 83, there was a recession. 83 or so, there was a recession. And Rick Policios is highlighting we're going to have that liquidity driven sort of a slowdown event happening then. And he's saying there is an asset quality event which came in 87, 84 with respect to the commercial loans. So potentially we might see something like this right now, and how it will shake out, it'll be interesting to watch. That's all I have. Let me come back with something next week. Thank you guys. Stay tuned.